adventurers, welcome to this recap of Iron Kingdom's All Worlds Stage, session number 13. Oh boy, we're almost done. The campaign is gonna be 15 sessions long from what I'm gathering. So in this session, last we left off, if you remember, the players were sent to the Tumbleweed, a maximum security prison. So there I was, thinking to myself, alright, I don't want the players just to roll a couple of disable devices and a couple of stealths and sneaks and then get out of the prison. I don't want it to be simple. I want it to be very elaborate. Basically, I want to turn the whole prison into a dungeon crawl, and I want the players to really have a hard time getting out of this place because that's the whole point. So I'm like, how am I gonna make the map? What things am I gonna put in the map? And then I realized, wait a minute, let me use my assets of what I know in video games. And I said to myself, what if I use the map of Shadow Moses Island from Metal Gear Solid? So I looked up for the whole map of Shadow Moses, and I actually used the whole map of Shadow Moses. Give or take, I ended up with 18 rooms in total, and instead of making it by levels, I just made it one very long complex. And yes, it was underground. So the players first, they said, all right, how are the accommodations in the jail? And I'm like, well, there's no bed. You have a pillow and a sheet in the floor, no windows. The jail cells, they have bars and a door that opens outwards, and that's it. They have a little slit at the bottom where they slide in your, I forget what's called. In Spanish is palangana, but I forgot in English. It's the, they use it in wrestling all the time. Stone Cold hit Mr. McMahon with it. The thing that they put under the sick people so they can poo and they can pee. Forget the name of it. So yeah, they throw that under that, and your food also goes under there. So, you know, because they don't care about you. I told them, you know, like they treat prisoners really badly in the Tumbleweed. And Coxer told me, all right, I wait for and this was beautiful. He says, I wait for a guard to come by, and I make sure mine is full, and I call his attention, throw it under there, so when he's walking, he slips and falls. And I'm like, alright, roll it. Boom, double sixes, critical hit. And I'm like, well done. Sure, you do it. And he falls down, he falls near you, because come on, it's a critical hit. I try to give my players a little bit extra when they ever are lucky enough to get a critical hit in games. Especially when it's for skills or things that are not combat based, because usually in combat you get a bonus when you crit. So he goes outside, he takes the keys, he opens up his jail cell, goes outside, releases Ms. Goodall and releases Donovan Cage. Then he says, I take the key, we go back inside because probably another prisoner comes by. Because Coxsuit had already learned the pattern that the guards go in and out of the jail cell area. So the guards saw the guy knocked down, took him, and went inside, went to the other room. Then they waited for another guy to do rounds, and as the other guy was doing rounds, they knocked him out. Gave his clothing to the Donovan Cage, because I told them you haven't seen any female guards, so if you put on the uniform of a guard, it's gonna be very suspicious right off the get-go. They're like, alright, so Donovan, you have to entertain the people, like be the distraction so we can sneak through. And he's like, no problem. So they do that, they go to the next room. The first room was the jail cells, then the next room, was the first guard station. And it has two annexes. One was a record room and another was a rest station for the guards. There they found a couple of clubs, pistols, and some leather armor. that they were ever able to wear. In the first annex, they found a key, a punch card, and a map of the area. Coxswain, since she has perfect memory, she memorized the whole map and gave the map to Donovan Cage so he could use it. They got a couple of pistols, some gloves, and they put on the leather armor. Then they were able to sneak past and go to the next room, which was an identifying station. I said in this station you need to use the punch card to open the door. There's nobody else in there. So they do it. They go to the next room, which was an open cavern. There a bunch of guards were using a lot of ballistic weaponry to test out new ballistic weaponry for the militia of Signar. And I asked them, well, here's how this one works. You have to describe how you're gonna get through it, and I'm gonna tell you what you're gonna roll. And depending on how good you roll, you either take damage or no damage at all. The target number was 16. I made it slightly higher for this one. Coxswain was able to do it with just a 16, and the way Goodall told me she was gonna do it, she's like, I'm gonna try to match Coxswain exactly in what she does. She actually got a 17. I'm like, well, you copy her and you do it better. Through all of this, they had already spent a couple of feat points to do a couple of rerolls. Then the next one was a hallway, and in this hallway, I told them that they could rest if they chose to. They saw Donovan Cage passing through, and they decided not to knock out the guards that were there. And I told them, well, since you rested, you each get a feat point back. The idea of the map was there are a couple of rest stations where if they rest, they would get a feat point back, because I know the whole cavern was gonna be feat point tax heavy, and it was. It really was. Then they go to a heavy ordnance station where they just have a bunch of cannons and a bunch of big guns. And there, I let Coxswain know in the next room you're gonna have another identifying station, so you need to find another punch card. The punch cards are different. They have different. They are identified differently, so you would need a different punch card B. Basically, your punch card number 2. So they're looking around. I have a little behind the scenes. I was putting a song from Metal Gear Solid while they were investigating, the one that goes dun dun dun, something like that. And I also had a soundboard prepared with the, what was that? Whose footprints are these? Huh? Like the Genome Soldier's voice clips. I had a soundboard prepared with that, and it was fun. Because I was actually using it as they were walking. I would do the whole huh from time to time, just to keep them on their toes, and they were on their toes. Goodall's player, my wife, she has never played Metal Gear Solid. However, Coxswain's player did, and he recognized the song, and he's like, alright. It's like, and he was like doing the whole swing thing, but they rolled their sneak because they have to sneak through every single room, and they rolled their sneak. And at this point, Coxswain was without feat points, and she rolled really bad on the detection rolls. And Coxswain is really good at stealthing. Usually she gets over 15 in every roll, but she got like a 9 in this one. I think it was a snake eye. Yeah, I believe it was an actual snake eye, and she couldn't re-roll anymore. And I actually put the swing sound and the whole bam 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 bam. You know, I put the alert song from Metal Gear Solid, and Coxswain's player was like, oh, so there it is. And I'm like, yeah, what do you do? Roll initiative. They hadn't seen Goodall yet, so Goodall was gonna be able to get a sneak attack on them. But it was three guards against Coxswain, and Coxswain was not completely geared up. So it's Coxswain's turn. I ask him, what do you do? And he tells me, well, we're in the heavy ordnance room, right? And I'm like, yeah. So there are cannons near, right? And I'm like, yeah. And I'm like, I get on a cannon. Can I use my mechanical engineering to shoot at these guys? I tell him, at a penalty because usually there's a skill for shooting cannons. Artillery, I think it's called. And he's like, no problem. Boom, he rolled. And if you don't know about Iron Kingdoms, you roll 2d6s for everything. So, you know, 2 6s is a critical hit. He got a 5 and a 6. Plus his mechanical engineering. The -2 didn't really do much because it was still like an 18 in total. And I'm like, you have low numbers, so a -2 is still a big penalty. So whatever, an 18 he got in total. And these guys died. They died like a lot. I told you, yeah, roll the damage for the cannon. They died a lot. So no more guards. And he says, in the confusion, can I sneak? And I'm like, of course. That's that's the whole point. And he snuck back. He snuck really well. And then the soldier were like, I didn't know how the soldiers were gonna react, and Cox's players just blurted out like almost a half a whisper. He said, "Oh, the machines probably malfunction," and I told him, "You know what? I didn't have anything like this prepared, and that sounds like something they would actually say. They're just complaining at each other that these things keep malfunctioning. God damn it! All these fucking machines keep malfunctioning like this," and they sneak past using that to their advantage to sneak out of the ordnance station. They go to the identifying station. Oh, in the bodies of the guards, they found the second punch card. And then the identifying station, they use the punch card. They get to a second guard station. And then in the second guard station, as they're opening up, I told them, you see a lot more guards this time. But no annexes, so it's only the guard station. You will need to get past this to a room that you don't know what's in there because it wasn't identified in the map. And they're like, okay, do we see anything that maybe Goodall could blow up with her fire spell? And I'm like, I roll, yeah, sure, there's a Signarin banner. Everybody's looking at the Signarin banner that's lit up in flames. They're trying to put it out and they sneak in. They sneak around. They are able to get out of the room, eventually using more fire to burn a couple of boxes. No, with all this, I keep mentioning there are boxes in every single room. I describe, oh, there's this, and this, and a couple of boxes, and always this, and this, and some drapes covering some boxes, and not a single moment. These guys knew that they were basically doing something Metal Gear Solid related, but they didn't pick up the boxes to hide in the boxes. I was actually gonna give them a bonus in their sneaks if they actually used the boxes, but they didn't do it. It was after the game that they were like, alright, you kept describing boxes. Oh, we should have totally used the boxes. And I'm like, well, you didn't. You could have kept the box as a souvenir or something. But you know, like Metal Gear Solid boxes. Usually I don't make sessions that heavy on Easter eggs. I mean, there wasn't that much. It was mostly the music I was using, and yes, I was using the map for Shadow Moses, but just the layout. I changed everything that happened in each area. So they get to a small room that has what appears to be a gigantic satellite dish. And in the next room, it has like stone wall on one side, the room they're in, with a big satellite and a glass protecting them from the other room. And in the other room, they notice 4 steam jacks, and they're apparently patrolling that other room. And I tell them, well, you notice a lot of soot at the bottom of the room. They're like, weird. And how the hell are we gonna sneak past these guys? What the hell are we gonna do? And Coxus says, oh, I jammed the door that's behind us just in case. And I'm like, good idea. And they're thinking of what they're gonna do. And then Coxus tells me, oh, I'll check what the hell this machine that's in front of us is. And I'm like, attaboy. You check it out, you use mechanical engineering. Apparently it's a machine used to call down lightning strikes. Apparently Signar has been tampering with weather control magic. Mechanica. Something like that. And it's like, really? And I told him, those actually out of game. I told him, well, actually, I started reading a bit of the campaign book, Nations, Gods, and whatever else is the name of the campaign book. And Signar has actually been meddling with weather control to the point that they have, I told them, this gigantic satellite that can call down lightning bolts. Signar, this is a really old prototype, because Signar right now, they have them man-sized. So you have storm callers, which is actually a career, and what they do is they call lightning clouds and then they call lightning strikes on people. And if that's not one of the most retardedly awesome things in a role-playing game, I don't know what is. Because Signar is boss. They are so freaking awesome. They have the storm blades and they have the storm callers. And again, the storm callers are just ridiculous. Just, I have a Tesla coil. I can create thunderclouds. I shoot you with a thunderbolt from your Tesla coil. No, from the heavens. It's just Signar. I love those guys. So finally, the idea I have for them was to actually call a lightning bolt on the on the steam jacks, because I told them the next room, it appears to be like a big tube, and you see an opening to the sky. It's really, really high up, so there's no way you're gonna climb that. And he finally put one and one together. He's like, okay, I activate the machine to call a lightning strike on the steam jacks. He rolled really well. All steam jacks are basically dust at this point. And then they hide in the small room. Now before Coxer told me I sabotaged the machine a little bit so they can't use it again. I'm like, that's good. A bunch of guards come from the next room, which was a supply station, a supply and evidence station. They go there, they keep saying, oh, this thing keeps malfunctioning on us, god damn it. And then they keep checking out, like, now it's completely and utterly busted. There's no way we're gonna get this to work ever again. Screw it, let's get out of here. They leave. The players sneak behind them. At this point, Gumshoe, they don't know where Gumshoe is. People kept asking Gumshoe for stuff, like, since he was dressed up as a guard, and he just kept on going down the Tumbleweed. So they get to the supplying evidence station, and they know there are 5 annexes there. They go to the furthest one away from them, and they notice that this annex actually has a punch card reader. But it's a different punch card reader from the other one, so they need a very specific punch card to get past this door. So they keep going. They find a room with a key card number 3, not the one that goes in the locked room. They find another annex with their equipment. They get geared up and they're like, okay, let's just keep heading out of here. We might be able to fight them. And I told them, you're gonna be outnumbered and it's not gonna be pretty. Okay, let's keep sneaking then. But there are 2 more annexes and you don't want to check them out, and Coxa doesn't wanna, but Miss Goodall does. And Coxa says, okay, I'll give you 10 minutes so you can keep searching the other annexes. She goes, she sneaks really well. In the first annex, she finds information about the ARMR family, and she finds some there was information on the ARMR family and information on a very small one that was hidden behind lock and key that she opened, but it was like a 1-page report. She didn't check that one. She just backed that small report and the ARMR family report. And she's like, where's mine? Well, it's not here. It might be in the other room because this is an alphabetical order. And, you know, you are Goodall or, you know, Sterling, so it will be under the S. And she goes to the other annex. There she actually finds her information, and she backs it in. And she looks for Coxswain, and I told her, well, just eyeing your report, you notice that Coxwood is in your own report as well because you're the leader of the bunch. You know him well. That's the Donkey Kong song, anyways. They leave. They finally leave the supplying evidence station and they go to a small hall. There they rest again. They get one more feat point back, and then they go to the next room, which is a torture chamber. And they're like, "Whoa, what the hell are they doing here?" They sneak through the torture chamber, and somebody calls them out, or calls them to them. It was Marie Bella, the person that, if you remember from last session, the ex-mayor from Grand Selm. She tells them, "Oh, please, just let me go, and I swear me and my people are gonna leave Grand Selm alone." And they're like, "No, we might kill you now. You might kill me now, but if you do, one, you need help to get out of here, and I can help you out. Two, if you strike me down, my boss is going to rain hell on you, and I swear not all of you are going to survive that." Sterling was moved by this, and she said, "You know what? You really promise that you're the horsemen or whatever it is, you guys are not gonna mess around with us? I swear." Then Marie Bella, as a show of good faith, told him, the 4 horsemen worked under me, but I work for a big organization called the Server Society. Now what we do is we go to towns, we make sure the towns are nearly uninhabitable, and then we go to a company to sell that town to. Then the company can come in, save the town, and they get cheap labor because everybody in the town is gonna owe them, and they're gonna own the town, so they can put whatever rates they want. So, you know, Server Society gets money, the company gets a town that works for them, and they get cheap labor. That's what we actually do. We don't destroy towns for destroying sake. It's a business. And they're like, "That's actually disgusting." And they're like, "Well, it's what we do." And, you know, the people here in the Tumbleweed were questioning me and torturing me because they wanted this information. I gave that information to you, but I didn't give them to them as a sign of good faith, so please let me go. And they let her go. She tells them, "Well, I got a punch card and I hid it from one of the guards while they were roughing me up, but it doesn't open any of the punch card stations. It might open the punch card in the evidence station." So they decide to go back, and it actually does. They weren't gonna get this unless they saved Marie Bella, but there they found a bunch of old equipment, specifically a repeating pistol and an assassin blade. And both of them have 2 rune plates. One is the Arcane Force rune plate that increases the damage by 2, and the Accuracy rune plate that increases the attack roll by 1. So these are really, really good weapons. Oh, and they're clockwork, so you only need to do this for 10 minutes, and it works for the rest of the day. So they enjoyed that. That was basically like the goodie bag, depending on what the players did and if they saved Marie Bella. Because, you know, since we're nearing the end of the game, I usually like to prepare like the ultimate weapons for each player. Something I've always done in almost every single campaign that I'm able to run with a small group. I make very personal treasures for each player. And I always like to have this idea of the ultimate weapon for each character that they can find. So after they get geared up, they go down another really long hallway to another chicken station, and it's punch card number 3. Then they get to some POW jail cells. And they're like, POW? And I'm like, yeah, POW. They keep prisoners of war here? Yes, they do. It's the Tumbleweed is the best prison they have. And they're like, well, maybe we can release a couple of them. They can help us out. And I'm like, oh, you might think that. You look around, but what you see here is actually a bunch of people that are very malnourished. They have their jail cells are about like 5 feet by 5 feet, and it's just bars. They don't have anywhere to, you know, do their things, and they're all open, and all of them are wearing rags. So these people are almost dying. And they're like, ugh. Okay, so they're not gonna help us out. A couple of guards. I think I said like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. About 8 to 9 guards were guarding the POW area. And Coxu said, okay, I'm gonna sneak around to see if I can steal a punch card, because there's another punch card station coming up. I'm like, that's a good idea. She succeeded. She rolled really well. Nobody noticed her. However, I was rolling a couple of notice rolls, and Moira Sterling didn't roll that high, and somebody else noticed her, and they tugged on her. And she looks back, and it's an old lady that is, she looks very, very sickly, and she takes out a small ring, and she gives it to her, and she says, please find my son and give this to him. Tell him that his mother misses him, but I'm going to be fine. And she's like, okay. She looks at the ring, and I told her, you see the coat of arms of the Adamant family. And she's like, it's the mother of Adam Adamant and Adamant Jr.? And I'm like, probably. So she starts talking to the lady a little bit. She explained that she, her husband and her family, they were running out of Menoth. And the Signar army mistook them for Menothian spies. And they caught her, but not the rest of the family. Coxwood arrives. Sterling explains what's happening, and Coxwood, the first thing she did was like, oh, her husband set her up. Her husband completely set her up. And, well, the old lady explains he actually didn't. He just... She's like, no, but he says that you were a shrew and that you were evil and blah, blah, blah. And she's like, yeah, Howard would do that because he was covering for me. They didn't want anybody to know that we came from Menoth. And they're like, okay. So then Cox did something that I did not expect. She actually opened up her jail cell, succeeded in the very difficult open lock roll, and they took her out. And I'm like, huh, this really changes my plans. I did not plan for this, but good on them. Maribella carries her out. They go to the last identifying station. They're talking to the old lady, Miss Adamant, and they're explaining, how did you get out of Menoth? Why? And they're like, well, we were part of the Menothian resistance. We hate Menoth, and we were trying to knock down. Basically, I'm a political assassin from Menoth, and they're like, whoa, I'm a political assassin. The Menothian knights caught us, and we were running out of Menoth to Signar to ask for protection. Signaring army caught us in the act of escaping, and they thought that we were Menothian spies. It's a matter of, you know, a huge misunderstanding, but that's war. And Howard and my kids were able to run away. They're like, okay, that's good. But what Sterling noticed is that she keeps saying my son. She doesn't say my sons. What son are you talking about? And she says like, oh, Adam, obviously. And she's like, what about Junior? And she's like, oh, you know my family? And she's like, yeah, what about Junior? And she's like, oh no, Junior died years ago. He must have died years ago. And they're like, something screwy is going on. Whatever, let's get out of here. They go to the main hall of the Tumbleweed, and there the doors open, and Justicar Vega is walking towards them. The Justicar that imprisoned them last session. And they're like, oh, we can maybe make a deal. And he's like, no deal. You die. Either you go back to your jail cells or you die now. They're like, alright, let's fight. And they fought. It was a very interesting fight. I actually statted out completely Justicar Vega, and he was a tough cookie to tumble down. But after a harsh fight, they were able to chip away at his health, and he was knocked down completely. He tried to do one last ability. He was a man-at-arms sorcerer, specifically earth sorcerer. So he tried to do an earthquake to kill them all. They were all to run away. The part of the building collapsed on him, killing him. When they get outside, they see a bunch of guards dying by you know, tens of guards dying by the second because there's somebody in a minigun on top of a carriage just mowing down guards, and they notice it's Donovan Cage. And they're like, what's happening? And Donovan's like, oh, I was going inside to save you now. And they're like, oh, so they caught you? And he's like, no, I just got outside and I saw this thing and I said to myself, I could use it to save you now. And they're like, okay, that's cool. They just take that carriage and they go. Then on the way back, they talk to Miss Adamant about what happened to her family. They check out the files they have on each other. They have everything on Moira Sterling and Coxwood, like everything illegal they have ever done, and that the Signaring military is afraid that these people are gonna end up being a crime syndicate, so that's why they wanted to imprison them. And they're like, okay, that's actually kind of cool that they think so highly of us. They check out the file on the Adamant family and they notice, yeah, they think that the Adamants are Menothian spies. They check if there's anything about Adamant Jr. and they notice that Adamant Jr. is suffering from, have it here, no. Where is it? Oh yeah. Junior has been suffering from the consumption disease for a long time. For those of you that don't know, consumption is a old-timey word we had for tuberculosis and other physical detrimental diseases. So Junior has been suffering from consumption for a couple of years now. At this point, he should have died. And Moira rolls her medicine roll, and she tells me about how long should he died. And I told her, well, around 4 to 5 months ago. If it's really that he escaped mana with consumption, he should have been dead about 4 to 5 months ago, give or take. Mostly take a couple of months. If you haven't noticed, basically a couple of months ago, 4 to 5 months ago, is when the campaign started. Now this is important, and you'll see why at the end of the session. They're like, that's weird that Junior actually is still alive. What the hell's happening? And this plays to the whole fact that they thought that Junior was a clone and that Adamant was a clone and all that brouhaha. So they get to Grandstone. Once when they're in Grandstone, a lot of people receive them with cheers and joy, and they're like, what's happening? And a lot of people, oh yeah, as they're walking, they notice a couple of posters that says, vote Goodall. They're like, vote Goodall? What's happening? They go to their arcane order and they see there's a political platform, like one of those platforms that politicians use when they're running for office. They go inside and they're like, what's happening? Cupid comes by and tells them, oh yeah, it was my idea since Maribella left and nobody knows what happened to her. I thought it would be a good idea for you to move in on the whole city. See, this way you control the underworld of the city and you control the city regularly as well as Mayor Goodall. See, Goodall is the mayor, Sterling is the kingpin. And they're like, I like your initiative, but still a bit too much. Because he splurts out and says, and that way we can become a crime syndicate. And they're like, oh man, we're gonna die. Because, well, they were reading the reports. They're like, who filed this? Because it is really neatly filed. And I told them, Adjudicator Brahmin. It's written there. And they're like, Adjudicator Brahmin, do we know that guy? And I tell Coxwood, roll your history lore. Your lore history. He rolls really well. And although Adjudicator Brahmin is, well, an adjudicator, he is, when it comes to the law, the only person that supersedes him is the king. Nobody else. Like the big Mama Jamma of Signar is the person that calls the shot in the whole kingdom is the only person that can supersede Adjudicator Brahmin. If Adjudicator Brahmin says you're guilty, you're guilty. If Adjudicator Brahmin says, oh, he's not guilty, he's what's the opposite of guilty? Wow, I can't believe I forgot. No, not guilty. He's not guilty, and that's it. He's not guilty. He can go to a court and say what's what. That's what adjudicator Brahmin does. He's also judge, jury, and executioner when he needs to be. So instantly, the players told me, we are scared of this guy. This guy actually freaks us out. We don't want anything to do with this guy. And I'm like, okay. Also on the way there, they talked to Maribela a little bit. Maribela said, I need to get out of town. And I need to tell my superiors that your town is not to be touched ever again. And they're like, okay. They let her go. A couple of days later, a woman dressed in a really regal looking, in a really, not regal, fine looking red dress. Like a business dress, walks into the Arcane Order. And she talks to Sterling. And she tells Sterling, well, my name is Anastasia Fury. So the whole AF symbol I've been showing them since the beginning of the game. My name is Anastasia Fury. I am the leader of the Four Horsemen and the leader of Maribela. I thank you for not killing her. And me and the Cerberus Society extend our protection. Well, not protection, our whitelist. You have been whitelisted and your town is not to be touched by us for 300 years. And they're like, 300 years? Well, in 300 years, I'm not gonna be alive. You're not gonna be alive. Nobody that's in this town is going to be alive. So, in 300 years, whoever needs to fight their own wars can fight their own wars. And they're like, okay, that actually makes sense. Coxswain was there for that as well. She leaves them the paper and Anastasia Fury says, I have the original copy that stays with us because, again, nobody's to touch this town. And thank you again. Coxswain says, oh, yeah, you must be really happy that we didn't kill your daughter, right? And Anastasia says, not my daughter, my lover. And at that point when she says my lover, Coxswain out of character tells me, you know what, now I am actually happy we didn't kill her. Because she has this aura of don't mess with me, and she is actually very intimidating. That actually filled my game mastering heart with joy when the player said that. She leaves. But before she leaves, she says, "Thank you for not killing me as well. I am not actually Anastasia Fury. I am a body double." This whole building was surrounded by a bunch of weapons and people that were ready to bring this whole place down if anything were to happen to me. So I am very thankful. Maribela always has her bases covered, but she is actually very, very thankful. She's probably gonna take some time off to be with... Anastasia Fury is gonna take some time off to be with Maribela. And they're like, okay, this woman's scary. And even though they were scared of Anastasia Fury, they later told me we're actually still more scared of Adjudicator Brahmin, because at least with Anastasia Fury, we know that she's not gonna touch us. But Adjudicator Brahmin, I don't know, man. He seems dangerous. After a couple of days, Miss Adaman also wakes up. Sterling is running for mayor. She's running against Adaman Senior is actually running against her, and Miss Adaman actually tells them Adaman Senior is probably doing this just to call the attention of the authorities because he's supposed to be in hiding. By doing this, he's probably gonna be putting himself out there, so they're gonna come for him because he's probably sick and tired of not being by my side. I know Howard. I gave him the name Howard. It's like, oh Howie, that was my train of thought. They decide to head over to the Adaman estate and they think, okay, if we give him his wife back, he's gonna drop down from the race, and then Maribela is just gonna, Miss Goodall is just gonna win at that point. And they're like, oh, that's a good idea. But before they go there, Craster actually comes in, sees Miss Adaman, he passes out, and they're like, oh goddamn, let's just leave. And I tell them, wait, he's clasping something in his hands. They open it up and they see a drawing of the red amulet that Adaman Jr. had, and some really weird writing that it's a cipher, it's Craster's cipher, but in the common tongue, dangerous, talk to talk to Goodall and Coxwood as soon as possible. And they're like, crap, let's wake up this guy, this thing is very important. Then he tells them, here's where the big reveal comes in. They're on their way to Adamant Estate, and he tells them, this thing, it's probably not how it is, because this type of magic just doesn't exist. However, I still want to take back this amulet because it might be too dangerous. I'm not entirely sure. Whoever possesses this amulet, from what I read, has the ability to distort and control time, space, and our whole dimension, and shape it as they want. Basically, it's a reality altering amulet. And he's like, again, I'm pretty sure that's not how it works, because that type of magic just is not real. And they're like, oh, we're pretty sure it does, so let's just go take it. Where is it? Adamant Jr. has it. And then the players were like, Adamant Jr. is the writer of all the stories. And I'm like, exactly. Oh yeah, because then they asked Miss Adamant, do you know anything about a Blackheart Thorn Soul? She starts laughing. And she's like, oh yeah, when they were younger, Junior would always play with Adam. And Adam, in his mind, Adam was always the bad guy. And the name he always gave him was Blackheart Thorn Soul. And then everything just started making a lot of sense. Like, okay, that was all the stories of... What about Dreadlord Necronus? And she's like, yeah, Necronus, Draconus, Ryleonis, Orgothonus, like all of that was my little Howie Jr. And Eternal Lord Onus, and she's like, yeah, that was the leader of the bunch, like the evil mastermind that would control all of them. And Blackheart Thornsoul would turn into him. And they're like, crap. So yeah, let's go as soon as we can to the Adamant Estate, and let's stop this, whatever it is, from happening. They get to Adamant Estate. There, they go in. They notice there's nobody in there. They search all around the first floor and in the basement, and they finally go to the little kid's room. There in the little kid's room, the little kid is in bed. He looks horrible. Apparently he's dying. And they see Adam, a bunch of physicians, all the maids and butlers, and Adamant Senior there looking over the kid. And they're like, we gotta take that amulet off him. And Adamant Senior turns around and tells them it's too late. The whole house blows up, and they're like in this landscape that's in the shape of Inmoren, which is the name of the place they're in, basically the name of the campaign setting. Well, the name of the campaign setting is Iron Kingdoms, but the Iron Kingdoms are in the land of Inmoren. It's the name of the land. So they're in a flat landscape that looks like Inmoren, and at the distance they hear a very familiar voice, a very deep and impulsing voice. And I told them, you recognize that as Eternal Lord Onus. And he's talking about, finally, after the kid is dead, I will be able to possess his body. And then I will be able to exist with all my powers. And they're like, crap. So what they saw then was this thing that was like half flesh, half clockwork, half machinery, mechanica. It was like a serpent's body, and then it ended with a massive torso, and like it had a crevice here, and then with machinery parts, a head would pop out. It would be the head of Adamant, with a magelock pistol in one hand and a rune blade in the other one. A rune blade basically is a magelock pistol, but in melee form. It's for a class I threw together. Like a homebrew class I threw together for Iron Kingdoms. And then from his chest there's another cavity, and from that cavity they saw the chest of little Adamant Jr. holding a rune disc, which is the things that go inside of the rune blades, and a rune bullet, which is what goes inside of a magelock pistol. And from behind them, from like the back, they saw like this disfigured, almost bony, skinny creature with just like no lips, just his teeth only, with big wide bloodshot eyes, no hair, just two slits for noses. One hand is holding the little kid in place in the chest, and the other hand has strings controlling ARMR. It's like holding them like this. And I actually did a drawing of it. It's a really crappy drawing, but I love it. I love how it looks. Again, it's crappy as hell, but it's basically like this, but like a lot better drawn. I don't even know if this camera is actually capturing it properly. I hope so. Just trust me, it sucks. It looks like crap. But I'm proud of my drawing. I'm probably gonna ask my wife, Sterling's player, to actually draw it better. She probably can, because she's actually a really good artist. But yeah, I like the whole image of Onus just holding the little kid in place and using his strings to control ARMR. And that's where I ended the session. Then next session, whenever we have it, hopefully tomorrow, at the time of this recording, they're gonna start off the fight. They're gonna start off the session fighting the Amalgam Adamant. That's the name I gave it. And it's gonna be fun. It's gonna be very, very fun. The players are gonna be able to do a lot of things during that fight. I'm gonna see how they do it. I am very excited for this. Then a little adventure on the side, and then next session, final boss fight. The players still don't have any idea who the final boss is gonna be. They should. I think I made it pretty damn obvious. So that's it for this session. Thanks for joining. I know this video went on for a long time, but it was a really long session. Again, doing the whole Shadow Moses Island was awesome. I loved it so much. Just using random maps. I think from maps from now on, I'm just gonna look for video game maps and adapt them to my use. Maybe do the same with, I don't know, like Legend of Zelda maps. It can totally be done. Well, thank goodness for, you know, small favors like that, just knowing a lot about video games. Thanks for joining me. Thanks for being here. If you get to the end of the video, let's see, what can I have you write? Oh, it was the little kid all along. Just write that in the comment section below, so I know you got to the end of this video, but probably you didn't. I'll see you guys next time, and until then, remember rule number 1: always have fun.